Home security cameras don't just catch porch pirates and pranksters, they also record some seriously harrowing, creepy, and violent crimes. We've gathered some of the most shocking crimes caught on home surveillance. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Home security cameras. Bet some of you out there have them, right? Maybe check on your baby in another room, see who's dropping off your package, maybe ignore an annoying neighbor ringing your doorbell, pretend you're not home. Look, they're convenient, they're useful, but most importantly, they are designed to help keep you safe. And I say this because those cameras are vital in legal cases. They can pick up nefarious characters outside or inside your home, or maybe even crimes happening in your neighborhood. And that is what we want to discuss. These 8 heinous crimes are proof that anything could happen right outside your front door. Let's start off.
From New York, police say it's an attempted mob hit caught on camera. Take a look. This happened Wednesday in the Bronx. The suspect was seen firing several shots at 41-year-old Salvatore Zotalo, the son of a Bonanno crime family associate. Zotalo desperately tries to escape the gunman. He was then rushed to the hospital and did survive, but authorities say he's not cooperating with their investigation. The NYPD is seeking the public's help to identify.
I'm going to make this video because I've been thinking about this for a minute. This for all my criminals, all of the people who might be thinking about becoming a criminal and doing crimes and stuff like that. I want to really say, in this year, 2024, if you out committing crimes, especially old crimes, crimes that's been in existence since the beginning of time, such as, if you still like breaking into people's houses or trying to sell drugs on the corner or shoplifting, if you still committing them type of crimes, you a dummy in 2024. I'm sorry, you just is. And I say that because, as we know, is that there's literally cameras everywhere. They literally, everybody has a Ring camera. There's cameras and street lights now. There's drones everywhere. There's basically cameras everywhere. Even if you're trying to and I know people still do this, but that's why a lot of people been caught, killing somebody, doing drive-bys in broad daylight, like that type of stuff. Shooting people in public places. People still crazy enough to do it, but we see that a lot of them end up getting caught. We seen the people who murdered Young Dolph ended up getting caught, or the people who murdered FBG Duck in Chicago, a Chicago rapper. They ended up catching them because they basically tracked and followed them all the way home, and they left the license plate on the car. So, the cameras is basically, it was able to follow them all the way back to the project. So they ended up getting caught. The rapper XXXTentacion in Florida, they killed him. They ended up getting caught. A lot of people is getting caught nowadays, especially more so than before. I know that there's still people who get away. There's still unsolved murders out there, of course. But the chances is way more likely if you getting caught nowadays versus the 80s or 90s even, because of there being cameras everywhere, there being forensic evidence, there being, technology that's as a whole is that they just better, they better equipped to catching people. So now it's you got to kind of be smarter. Then, of course, everywhere there's a camera phone, everybody has a phone. So it takes nothing for somebody to just pull their phone out and record you doing something, which has happened a lot of times. So to me, it just really don't make no sense. I know that, people still crime is always going to exist. Let's just be real. Crime is always going to exist because poverty is always going to exist. And when you in that mindset to where you feel like there's no hope, you need money right now. Of course, you can't get a job and, and make money right. But I was about to say, actually, you kind of can, because there's jobs now and stuff that you can do to where you can make money the same day, like DoorDash or Uber. And, there's certain jobs to where you can get paid the same exact day. So really, it's not an excuse. But let's say you don't have a card, or it takes time for your account to get approved and you still waiting on that, or maybe they didn't approve you because you had a felony before or a bunch of parking tickets or your car not up to standard, whatever reason, it's still a possibility that you can't even do that. So I understand that there is situations to where people get caught up and stuck in a situation to where they feel like they don't have no hope, so they have to do what they have to do. So that's why crime gonna always exist. Because if I'm hungry and I really need something, it's just like fuck it, I'll just take my chances and hope that I don't get caught. But you got to know that it's more likely for you to get caught now than ever. They got police officers at a lot of Walmarts now, like where I'm at, and it's not even in the hood necessarily. And they got the police up at Walmart. Every establishment has a camera, a HD camera, nowadays. So, it's like if you commit a crime, you got to know that you're gonna be on camera. You got to know that there's the chance of you getting caught. Um, for sure, especially if you're trying to break into people's houses. That's the craziest. Like, I don't know. I have to look up burglary, um, the burglary, rate, burglary rate from 1990 to 2022. So you've seen it's been on a steady decrease over the years. Because it was, what is this? 1,200 in the 90s. It was in 1990. It was 1,200 per 100,000. It was 1,200 per 100,000 population, and now it's, what is this? 269 burglaries by 100,000. So it didn't really, it didn't make a dramatic decrease in homes being broken into. So like people even know it doesn't even make sense to break into homes now. It was 100% decline in 2021. So yeah, so people know better. It's not like it was now. You crazy to be breaking into somebody's house knowing that everybody got cameras, dogs, and guns. Cameras, dogs, and guns. It don't make no sense. Now I want to see what the overall crime rate is since the 90s. Have all crime dropped. So larceny and theft is still the most committed crime, which we know. Then it's motor vehicle theft, so stealing cars. Then it's burglary. Then it's aggravated assault. Then it's robbery. Then it's rape. Then it's murder. So we see larceny and theft is like triple the next thing, which is cars being stole. So, and that's because we know that larceny and theft, unless you like really, getting a lot of money, 6 figures or 7 figures worth of, theft or larceny, we know that most of the time it's either a misdemeanor or it's not that much of a serious crime. So people willing to commit it. And most crimes are committed because of money, versus violence or anything else. Because you see the top three things is property crimes versus all of the violent crimes. So, it's usually about money, most of the time when it comes to crime. So, victims. Oh, this is the crimes over the years. So it was 747. What is this? 1993, 747 crimes per 100,000 people in 93, and now it's 380.7 in the year 2022. And then property crimes was 4.7 million in 93, and now it's 1.9 million in 2022 it was. So yeah, crime has overall dropped a lot versus what it was in even the 90s. And and that's also good because you know that there's more people in the world now than there was in the 90s. So, you know, the numbers is definitely true. They said it was a 59% reduction in the US property crime rate between 1993 and 2022. The big declines rate of burglary, so burglary is down 75%. That's the number one crime that then went down. And I knew that had to been true. Like people was not breaking into people's houses like they used to back in the day because, you know, of cameras and everything else. Then larceny and theft is actually down 54%. Motor vehicle theft is down 53%. And it seems like people be getting their cars stolen more often now, you know, the Kia boys and stuff, but it still ain't as much as it was in the 90s. So, and we know that this is all just because of technology. You know, they made it's harder to steal cars, newer cars than it was in the 90s. You know, there's more resources, more forensic evidence, more cameras, more visible. So that then contributed to crime actually going down. Because I always say all of the time is that, you know, back in the day, it had to been crazy, you know, maybe like, especially like the 40s, 50s, or even before that, like the time before technology, like before there was cameras everywhere and before there was forensic evidence, stuff was crazy. That's why a lot of murders was never solved and they didn't get solved to 30, 40 years later because there wasn't no forensic evidence. So you basically had to have an eyewitness in order, you know, to really convict somebody of murder. Like you had to literally have an eyewitness or you had to basically catch them in the act almost back in the day, which is crazy. And then what else? So, you know, that just contributes to everything to from then on to now, you know, like you could used to break into people's houses before there wasn't alarms, or a lot of people didn't have alarms. Even when I was younger, we didn't have no alarm in our house. Alarms still existed, but you know, that was for like, you know, the upper, you know, like the upper class people. We definitely didn't have no Ring camera because I don't think Ring cameras was even out in the early 2000s. Or if so, people didn't, you know, have cameras on their houses unless it was, you know, unless you was rich and you know, you lived in a mansion or something, you probably had cameras. But you know that regular everyday person didn't have cameras on their house like they do now. Now everybody got cameras on their house. So, you know, and if you don't got a camera, your neighbor do, like you're not gonna go down one street probably in America, you know, in the city, you know, because I know that there's areas out there that still ain't up on technology and don't have Wi-Fi and all of that stuff. But you know, any major city, any, you know, major street, there's gonna be at least one to probably five people on the street that has a Ring camera. Like, you know, you're not gonna go down the street where don't nobody had no Ring cameras or no cameras on their house. So it just don't make sense. Then you got to think too, because the thing shoplifting was big when I was even when I was young, like in the 2000s, mid 2000s, we used to go to the stores, steal video games, take stuff out of Walmart, you know, go to the corner store and steal stuff. You was still able to do it a little bit some. Not now, like, you know, because there wasn't as many cameras back then. And then I worked in retail before, and some of the stores had like dummy cameras that didn't even work. So, and then they had LPs and stuff like that. But it's always been crazy to me to have off, you know, like security or LPs, and they can't even stop the person. You know, like for real, or they can't really even do nothing. They gotta let them go. So it's just kind of there for show. I guess it will deter some people, like, you know, them thinking that they might say or do something or call the police. But once people know that they can't put their hands on you or really do nothing, you know, they didn't care for real. But yeah, I just wanted to say that I was just thinking that, like, wow, crime really has changed. You know, all of the shootings and all of the stuff get brung up and all of these sexual assault. But like I've been thinking is that back then it was still always worse. It's just more visible now. Like how we always talk about cars getting stolen, police killing unarmed people, and you know, sexual assault and all of this type of stuff. The stuff was going on way more back then. It's just now that everything is visible and there's news stations everywhere to report everything. Like every city now has its own little news outlet. Besides like the local news, like, you know, they got people on social media or YouTube doing the daily news and covering the news that's going on. So then everybody got a camera phone, so it's more easier to capture crimes now. So it just really don't make no sense in 2024 to really be doing nothing, even, or you better get creative with it. Like you better get creative with it. I know people still, now I guess the biggest crime probably is like fraud, like certain fraud things. And I know people be doing um cards and all type of little scams and stuff. I can't even really think of them, but off the top of my head, but like fraud is a big thing. Internet scams, getting money and stuff like that. That's still always gonna be around, and people still do that. Well, identity theft, that stuff too. Even though there's a lot of laws and they did stuff to crack down on that, that's still, it's still kind of harder to catch them people or to get them, especially if you're not showing your face and like you not never putting yourself out there to where you just done with it and showing your face, going to stores, showing your face or putting your name here and, like all of that type of stuff. So the moral is because there's a lot of people broke, a lot of people still struggling, and that's the messed up part that makes a lot of people still be desperate to do stuff. Because like I said, poverty never is going to go away. So it's like, a lot of people is really stuck in that bond. And it's like now it's the time to really get your hustle on, get a trade on, work, because like everybody hates working, but slow money is better than no money, and it's better than putting your life at risk for real. Because it's gonna be a setback if you do get caught, and everybody think that they not gonna get caught. But as you see, a lot of people do get caught. I just never could be that naive and dumb just to think that, like I'm just so smart and that I'm never gonna get caught. Not saying that I haven't done nothing, but I never, if I was put in a situation to where I had, where I had to do something, because I was in situations where I was dead broke, was in a situation where I was homeless before, to where like I had to do what I had to do, but by luckily I didn't get caught. But I was never like a career criminal, like I'm not about to go and steal something from the store every day, or go to Walmart, or go, commit fraud every day. Like, like make it like literally my job to be a criminal, like, a everyday type thing. Cause you raising the probability of you getting caught. So that's how I looked at it. I never, like I never wanted to put that's the main reason why I never really sold drugs before. I never wanted to sell drugs because I'm like, so many people getting caught and so many people doing it. It just didn't make sense to me. Like it literally didn't make sense for me to do what everybody else was doing. And then you see how they crack down on drugs. And then not only that, not only worried about going to jail, that people get killed, people run off on your product, you get into it with people over turf. There's a lot of stuff that goes with that. So I'm like, it's not even really worth it. And then that's the other thing too about committing crimes. You never know. Like we always think about going to jail and prison, but you never know when you gonna do something to the wrong person. And that's why I never did no crime that affected people. Like, I was never about to rob somebody, put a gun to their head, give me your stuff, or, like nothing crazy like that, because you never, never know when that could go left. Like you never know when you might try to steal somebody's car and they come out blasting, or you break into somebody's house and they in the house and blast you. You never know when you try to rob somebody and they got a gun too. Like you never know, things can always go left. You always got to think about that. You got to worry about getting caught, and you got to worry about also you could lose your life. It's just really not, it's really not worth it. You is better off working a 9 to 5, or people need to stop blowing their money, flip your money, invest, do what you got to do to get to a place of financial security, because you don't want to have to keep putting yourself at risk. I understand it's desperation, you got to do it, but you should be trying to get out the game. And then especially you don't want to be old committing crimes, because that'd be the worst when you see these 40, 50-year-olds still, stealing cars and stealing stuff from the store and just doing petty and crazy crimes. And they older, 50 years old, still, trying to break into somebody's house or something. That's just crazy. So I just wanted to make this quick video and touch on that about the crime rate. And like, got to be crazy to commit crimes. You got to really be desperate to be committing crimes in 2024.